Welcome to part 2 of my answers to SJWs video. I don't think we need to waste any time with an introduction, so let's just jump right in.
Since so many of you profess to be admirers of second-wave feminism as opposed to third-wave feminism, I thought it would be interesting to ask which second-wave feminists in particular do you appreciate? Which books written by second-wave feminists have you read and found interesting? Which second-wave feminist activists have you specifically admired as you formed the opinion that you like second-wave feminism but you have no use for third-wave feminism? I'm just curious.
Oh shit! It's another Steve Shives question. Kraut and T, you want to take it again this time? Kraut and T? You still around? Alright, I guess he was just in the first part. So I have to answer this horse shit, huh? Alright, well, so what second-wave feminist have I read? None. Well, I guess I did read Valerie Solanas to laugh at how stupid she was. But I think, Steve, that you're missing the point. The point is not that there's this huge distinction between first, second, and third wave feminists. The point is that American society was different in those times. When first wave feminism started in the late 19th century, women didn't have the right to vote. And they were also denied a whole host of other legal rights. And their main goal here in America was getting that right to vote and those other rights they didn't have, which their movement accomplished in like 1920. So second and third wave feminism, I really don't know if they're really genuinely that distinctive from one another, because both their movements have focused far more on the social standing of women rather than the legal rights of women. And sometimes they've made good points, like standing up against marital rape or getting domestic violence to be taken more seriously. But a lot of times, both second and third wave feminism has focused on things like controlling sex and sexuality, controlling media, controlling artistic expression, and getting special privileges for women that aren't afforded to men, all in the name of women are oppressed, women are so oppressed. So I haven't read the works of any of those feminists. I don't need to. I can look at what they've actually done throughout history and what they've championed, and I can judge their actions against the society they lived in. Feminist theory, as written about in some dull-as-dirt academic tome, is not necessarily what I need to read to understand what's going on. I mean, let me ask you, Steve, what men's rights books have you read before you dismissed that philosophy? I'm guessing none. But if I'm wrong, please correct me. Please take your time to actually address me for once, you miserable sack of fucking cretinous shit. How about that? You know, I mean, if you were to tell me that Saudi Arabia needs some feminism, I'd be like, fucking A-right. Let's get some feminism to Saudi Arabia. But when you say that the United States of America still needs feminism, I would say that you're being ridiculous.
You do understand that reading the title of a book or an article or watching the first 15 seconds of a video is not going to give you a deep, nuanced understanding of what that book or article or video is about, right? That being said, how can you expect to understand or critique feminist sources if you don't even attempt to understand what they're trying to say?
I don't know what you're talking about, because I've made tons of videos where I addressed feminist talking points from the very beginning to the very end, where I look at entire arguments presented by feminists, and I do understand what feminists are saying. They're saying that women are still hugely disadvantaged by a society that continuously sexualizes them, objectifies them, and commodifies them. They say that we still live in a patriarchal society where men are favored over women. They say that we live in a rape culture where men feel entitled to women's bodies. They say that all aspects of society are male-dominated. Our political system is male-dominated, entertainment is male-dominated, news media is male-dominated, the way the family is organized is male-dominated, economics is male-dominated, religion is male-dominated. I understand all of that, you toga-wearing fucking dolt. But what I don't understand is how they can possibly think any of that is actually true. Because there's no evidence. There's no evidence that any of that's true. It's all bullshit. And we've all made plenty of videos explaining why. Maybe you're the one who should look beyond titles and actually watch some fucking Sargon of Akkad, or some Chris Ray Gun, or some Amazing Atheist. Because we'll set your dumb ass straight in about 20 fucking minutes.
Why is trying and failing to debunk a study into sexual assault the #1 priority for a rational thinker now? Does it maybe say something about your priorities? Does it? Nah, it's fine, it's the feminazis, we have to stop them. They're taking away our video games. Look, Anita, I'm sorry, but I can't, we can't actually destroy video games. That doesn't make any sense.
Since you don't mention what study you're talking about, how can I possibly respond? So instead, I'll just let you know that whoever told you that you're funny is playing a really fucked up joke on you. Sorry to say.
One of the major arguments that I see in many of your videos is that it is possible to separate criticism of the religion of Islam from the actual Muslim people. And yet, this line seems to be crossed very often. I see things like raghead or camel fucker or other things like that in your comment sections. I see people taking very serious shots at Muslims in videos and hangouts, and they don't get called out, at least not that I can see. So my question is this: why should a person of conscience who is concerned about the Muslim people and their community not being harmed or mistreated, why should they believe that you're actually only attempting to look at the ideas and talk about the ideas if you ignore bigotry that's occurring right in front of you? And in that light, would you be willing to break bread and salt with moderate Muslim people on your videos, have hangouts, invite them to your channels, just in order to build some bridges there and to learn more about what they think and how they feel and what their experience has been, so that information and knowledge can be furthered?
I think the real question here is, why are you so much more concerned about people like me being critical of Islam than you are the massive numbers of Islamic people who are completely illiberal, intolerant, and frankly disgusting? Why are you more worried about a woman in a burqa getting a dirty look in a parking lot than you are a man screaming, Allah Akbar, as he runs over men, women, and children with a giant truck? Why are you more worried about internet trolls typing raghead in the comments section so they can feel naughty and blow off some steam after their shitty day at work or school? Why are you more worried about them than you are respected Muslim clerics teaching that child marriage is totally moral? Like Dr. Saleh bin Fawzan, a cleric in Saudi Arabia's highest religious council, who issued a fatwa asserting that there is no minimum age for marriage and that a girl can be married even if they are still in the cradle. I mean, I get it. You don't want to see all Muslims painted with the same brush. You don't want good people getting a bad rap just because of their religious faith. But don't you think you've taken that impulse a bit too far when you find yourself unwilling to criticize mass rape, mass murder, LGBT people facing prison or execution, and a whole host of other horrible shit? I think it's time that you and those like you get on the right side of history and join us in condemning this barbarous, cruel, and evil religion.
Do you deny that systemic racism against black people is like a thing in general? If so, what? Okay, just step over, just cover your ears for a second and let the smart people talk. If not, why is it so much more important to you to demonize groups like Black Lives Matter than to actually use your platforms to discuss actual solutions to issues surrounding race and racism?
Okay, well, I've actually talked many times about my solutions to issues of race and racism, but once again, you weren't listening. You weren't listening because you were too convinced of your own superiority to believe that someone like me might have anything to fucking say. So first, stop dividing people by race, discourage cultural identity, and encourage individual identity. You also need to reform the justice system. There's far too many people going to jail for nonviolent crimes. That should stop. The black community needs to stop this whole snitches get stitches bullshit and cooperate with police when they want to incarcerate violent thugs. Police should also have to wear body cams and should be subject to oversight from a civilian body. We have to also legalize all drugs, legalize and regulate. So what we've done, if we do all that, is we've legalized drugs, thus destroying the black market that allows gangs to thrive. We've released the non-violent people who never should have been in prison in the first place, and we've gotten the black community to actually act in its own best interests by uniting with the police to tackle the crime problem in the black community. Now, there's no gangs, there's no gangstas, and real businesses can now feel safe setting up shop in black neighborhoods, creating jobs and wealth, and helping black America reach income parity with white America. Obviously, this is just a rough draft kind of solution, just a general overview of my thoughts, but that's my general solution, or one of them anyway. I've got a few others if you're interested, but you're not, because you're a fucking asshole.
If you've ever discussed or done a video about black-on-black crime, when are you going to do a video about white-on-white crime and what we, as white people, can do to solve the problems in our community?
Well, white-on-white crime isn't nearly as statistically significant. Like in 2015, there were about 2,500 murders of white people by white people, and there were about 2,500 murders of black people by black people. But guess what? White people are 62% of the population and black people are only 12. So that means the rate of black-on-black murder is a little bit more than 5 times greater than the rate of white-on-white murder. And the reason this black-on-black crime thing became a talking point in the first place is because when 2,500 black people are being killed by other black people every single year, the black community is far more concerned about the 258 black people killed by police last year, the vast majority of whom were armed and resisting. Others, as we know, and this is true, were essentially murdered by police for no good reason. And there's arguments about how often that happens and which cases actually qualify. But most people can admit that yes, there have been instances where the police were way too trigger happy and they killed innocent people who did nothing to provoke them. But of those 258 incidents of black men being shot by police, the number who fit into that he didn't do nothing category is, let's say 5%. So that'd be like 13 black people wrongfully killed by cops in a year. So that's what inspires massive outrage. Massive outrage, huge protests, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But 2,500 black people killed by the violence that is so tragically commonplace in much of the black community, and it's fucking crickets. If you think that makes sense, I don't know what more I can fucking tell you other than just you're wrong. It doesn't.
Why is a literal teenager's different definition of racism from you so horrifying that you all have to go, no! No, we have to stop him! We've got to debunk him now! Ah!
See, you really don't understand how YouTube works. No one looks at Milo Stewart and says, oh my goodness, this is a grave threat to us and our community. We've got to stop this kid before he, she, it, they, z, whatever, becomes too influential. We can't let this new definition of racism catch on, you guys. This is super important. That's not how it's going down. What's actually going down is we see Milo and think, holy fuck, I've just discovered a goddamn gold mine of stupidity. This is going to be great. Money, 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 money.
Wherever did you get the idea that racism was a self-applied identity? And if the only true racists are the racists who self-identify as racists, how can we ever expect to make any social progress to reduce racism? Or did I just answer my own question?
Not only did you not answer your own question, you really didn't even ask one, honestly. You just made a statement. But what you actually said, I couldn't tell you. I speak a little bit of smug, but you're obviously far more fluent in it than I am. Sorry.
You often say that you are for equality of opportunity, but if people of color, for instance, have to overcome barriers whites do not, such as discrimination and unequal treatment, as are well documented in various studies, then how can the current situation be thought of as equal opportunity in any real way? And why do you consider it racist to discuss these issues?
You're never, ever, 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 ever going to have equal opportunity for everyone. There's always going to be the racist manager that says, Tyrone Watkins, put that shit on the bottom of the pile. You're always going to have people in positions of power who apply their own biases to their employment practices. You ever go into a bar and notice that all the people working there are hot women? How many dudes and ugly bitches do you think were unfairly turned down? You ever go somewhere where all the employees are clean cut? How far do you think I would get in that application process, huh? This kind of problem is not one that can be argued or legislated away. It has to change on its own over time as people hopefully let go of their old bigotries and adopt a more open-minded point of view. But you know what? Don't hold your breath for that shit. And also, I don't consider it racist to discuss these issues. I don't know where you got that impression.
Do you understand basic English syntax? Like, you know, if I say this cat is pretty, I don't mean that all other cats aren't pretty. Like, do you really not get why saying all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter is not only racially insensitive, but just patently ridiculous?
Well, I think the one failing to understand syntax here is actually you, my friend. When someone says all lives matter, that actually includes black lives. So to say all lives matter is essentially to say that black lives matter. It's just saying that other lives matter too. Whereas if you just say black lives matter, that, you know, it's true. That doesn't necessarily imply that other lives don't matter, but it doesn't necessarily imply that they do either. I mean, if you guys really wanted to give the movement a sensible name, then what it really should be called is Black Lives Also Matter. Since the point you're trying to make is that you feel like your lives are less valued by society. I mean, if you called it Black Lives Also Matter, everyone would get that instantly. You guys should really put me in charge of your movement. I'm better at this kind of stuff than you are. Yeah, give me a call if you want some more tips. I'm full of helpful advice.
Isn't it offensive to men to assume that a man could only ever want equality for women and therefore be comfortable with feminism as a whole in order to get laid, and that reduces us to beasts? If that was the case, wouldn't I attempt to get laid from my views instead of not ever trying that?
Well, women already have equality here, so the whole question is built around a false premise and doesn't really need an answer.
If you say you're an egalitarian, will you call out the man-hating slurs that you see coming from people within your community? People who use terms like cuck, beta male, faggot, or mangina? All of these things basically distill men down into thinking that the most important thing about them is to be having sex with a woman. That's rather offensive. So what are you doing to stop this kind of behavior in your community?
Nothing. I've been called every single one of those words myself, and I happen to value freedom of speech, and I would never join a campaign to get people to stop saying certain words. I mean, faggot, I mean, that's a great word. I love the word faggot. And it has nothing to do with gay people at this point. Cuck, I agree, is a stupid word. And I really only use it ironically. Beta male, that's just an outmoded, stupid concept for a species no longer under any sort of tremendous Darwinian pressure. Anyone who internalizes these words and sits there like, gee, I guess my self-worth is dependent on how much poon I get. Oh! Anyone who does that is a fucking idiot. And if he weren't adopting and internalizing that stupid shit, he would just be embracing some other stupid shit somewhere else. So let's keep the marketplace of ideas open, and let's keep people free to use whatever words they want. All right, guys, that wraps up part 2. See you next time when we put a bow on this festering pile of shit. If you enjoy my videos, subscribe to my channel. I'm the Amazing Atheist. Peace the fuck out! Yeah.
So beta cuck faggot, TJ.
Beta cook faggot, beta cook faggot.